How's everybody doing this fine Monday? I hope everybody's having a great goddamn day. I know I am. My name is Alan Roberts. Many people call me that angry bald man. A lot of people call me that motherfucker. Like lately, especially, there's a lot of people really calling me that motherfucker. They're not happy with me, and I don't care. But I do honestly like it a little bit. If you're upsetting people that don't live in reality, isn't that a good thing? Like if people that don't actually live in the realm of reality in their brain, if you're upsetting them, is that bad? I don't think so. I personally don't. I don't think so. Today, I wanted to go over, we have 3 videos lined up today at the very least already. I was already live on Instagram, by the way, which is the MFing COO on Instagram, just like it's the MFing COO on the X, Twitter, whatever the fuck you want to call it. I don't care. But we are going to go over an article that I wrote today. Oh, hang on a second. We're going to go over an article I wrote today, or I published it today. I wrote it the other day. And I just, for those of you that get very upset with me about these things, you all do realize that these articles have like anywhere from 10 to 20 academic and scientific sources, right? Like I get people very upset, like at the articles I'm writing. But you can live in your little fifis in your little land of like feelings and shit like that. Like you can still have that purple sky with a unicorn dancing across a rainbow, shitting out glitter, telling you that you're all fabulous and magnificent, even though you're 250, 300 fucking pounds. But most of the articles I write, the books I write, they're all very scientifically sound. For instance, I have a book out that, by the way, if you want to grab, that's not it. That's not it. That would have been bad. That would have been bad. There was a whole article that I am working on right there. But if you want to grab a copy of my book, It Was Never About Your Health, the COVID pandemic, here is the link to do so. There is also About Your Health monthly flash sale. And by monthly flash sale, we realized that a lot of coaching clients, they would wanted to take advantage of the deals we were having, because we do have great deals for 3 months, 6 months, and 1 year. Fabulous deals that I'm going to post up here in a little bit. But our coaching is daily communication with weekly video conference calls. And that in of itself is very time consuming, and normally people would charge hundreds of dollars for it for each month. But here, if you check it out, excuse me, if you check this out right here, you can either buy the book, which the book will give you 3 months of the app and the hunger management support group and the habits group, but also put you in our spring challenge if you would want to. You don't have to, but if you would want to, it's a spring challenge. It's daily checklist, those sorts of things. Or you could get coaching, get the book, and all the other things for a price of $79.99. We dropped the price for the month to month just because people were saying, "Hey, I'd love to get your coaching. I can't afford the one lump sum of a 3 month, 6 months, or 1 year block." And I can't, the month prices priced me out a little bit. So we're lowering down the month price to $79.99 to try to help as many people as humanly possible. So there it is right there. Please do take us up on that offer. If you have any questions, we'll be going over those at the end of the day. Or at the end of the day, at the end of the video. And I might do a full live Q&A today. We'll see. Maybe later on today if I have time. I've got a lot of clients today. But today, let's go over this article that I wrote. And this is about the unacceptable burden, morbid obesity as a preventable danger to hospital medical care staff. And I've talked about this ad nauseum. I think that a lot of people were getting to the point where they just thought I was just saying shit, even though former healthcare executive, actually helped write policies, manuals, those sorts of things for the healthcare industry, especially when it was based around safety and prevention, those sorts of things. I literally used to teach a class on how to properly don and doff a mask, but also slips, falls, those sorts of things. And when you look at the numbers for workman's comp, most of the injuries for RNA, for RNs, CNAs, and other immediate care staff is lower back injury from lifting heavy patients. So I thought we would go over my new article, which is here, and you can see it on X for yourself if you would like to. This is the unacceptable burden, morbid obesity as a preventable danger to hospital and medical staff. This is completely 100% valid, and also one of the reasons, also a very strong factor as to why all of our healthcare costs are so expensive, because basically fat people are more expensive to take care of. And we spread our cost amongst everybody, which I fucking can't stand. I absolutely can't stand. It's not that I don't want people to have healthcare. It's not that I don't want people to be healthy. I just think that if you're not going to participate in your healthcare, why should I have to fucking subsidize it? I don't understand that. If you're not going to, actually participate in your healthcare enough to keep yourself healthy, why should I have to subsidize your ill health? So let's read. In today's healthcare system, a preventable crisis looms large. The undeniable threat posed by morbidly obese patients to hospital and medical personnel. There is no gray area. It is a stark reality carved in injury reports, ergonomic data, and physical limitations of workers forced to manage self-inflicted extremes of body weight. Morbid obesity, defined by the National Institutes of Health and Body Mass Index as a body mass index exceeding 40 kilograms per meter squared or 35 kilograms per meter squared with comorbidities. I personally use waist height ratio. If your waist height ratio is above 0.6, which if you have a BMI of 35 or of 40, it is highly unlikely that your waist height ratio won't be above 0.6. You're morbidly obese. And the reason why I use waist height ratio, for those of you that aren't familiar with it, waist height ratio is much more predictive and accurate when it comes to shortened longevity, chronic illness development, those sorts of things. I've done multiple articles on that before too, and I've done multiple videos on that before too. Waist height ratio is the way to go, if you ask me. And also, there's no way that people can possibly escape the, well, you can be skinny and fat and unhealthy thing, because yes, you could still, like, you can be unhealthy at any weight. You just truly can. But if you're morbidly obese, you're 100% of the time unhealthy. That's reality, right? But also the waist height ratio gets those people that are the normal average American male. The average American male is likely 200 pounds by now, or 205 pounds by now, because the data we last collected on it was 2018. And of course, there's going to be a natural gain and blah, blah, blah. But so the average American male and the average American female has a waist height ratio of 0.6 or above, likely. So unhealthy. Just the average is unhealthy. The average is fat. The average is obese, morbidly obese. The average is morbidly obese. So, defined by the next one, it's not an inevitable fate thrust upon will. Did I post twice? I don't believe so, but I'll take a second notification. Shit, no kidding. About time. Anyway, just joking. Now I've lost my spot. Consequence. And the fallouts and danger of the very professionals tasked with mitigating the effects. Backed by rigorous science, this article asserts that morbid obese patients, through an avoidable condition, pose a direct and intolerable risk to the physical safety, mental health, and operational viability of our healthcare workers. The physical cost of choice, self-imposed burden. Handling morbid obese patients inflicts a brutal physical toll on medical staff because those patients have chosen to let their bodies balloon beyond reason. Nurses, doctors, and technicians are built to lift 300, 400, or 500 pounds. Yet this is the load they're handling handed by individuals who could have avoided such excess. A 2016 study in the American Journal of Industrial Medicine reveals healthcare workers suffer musculoskeletal injuries at 5 times the rate of other industries, with patients handling as the top cause. When the patient's weight triples the norm through voluntary overindulgence, the danger explodes. The Occupational Safety and Health Administration, OSHA, caps safe lifting at 35 pounds under optimal conditions. These conditions are completely obliterated when nurses have to heave a self-made 400-pound mass. Completely obliterated. The biomechanics don't lie. Lifting a patient who chose this state compresses the worker's lumbar spine beyond safe limits. The Journal of Occupational and Environmental Medicine in 2018 showed that loads over 100 pounds triple the risk of lower back injury. Now imagine 400 pounds hauled by a 160-pound nurse. The Bureau of Labor Statistics 2019 logs over 20,000 annual healthcare injuries from patient handling, with obesity as the glaring factor. These are herniated discs, chronic pain, and wrecked careers. Consequences of choices patients could have rejected. No one's genetics mandate a 500-pound frame. Lifestyle does, and staff pays the price. Equipment collapse and consequence of willful neglect. Excuse me. Jeez, I had a monster earlier, so I'm like, anyway. This self-inflicted crisis does not stop at bodies. It breaks the tools healthcare workers depend upon. Standard hospital beds, stretchers, and wheelchairs handle 250 to 300 pounds. Morbid obese patients exceed this limit, turning equipment into liabilities. A 2020 Healthcare Journal study cites beds buckling and stretchers snapping under bariatric weights. Incidents like a 450-pound patient crushing a gurney, fracturing a nurse's femur. These aren't flukes. They are predictable outcomes, and patients opting for excess over restraint. Operating tables rated at 400 pounds falter under 600-pound loads, as noted in surgery for obesity and related disease in 2017, forcing staff into dangerous manual lifts or equipment stabilizations. Diagnostic tools such as MRI machines capped at 500 pounds reject these patients outright, leaving staff to improvise risky solutions. Hospitals weren't designed for this. They shouldn't have to be. Every collapse, every workaround stems from choices patients could have avoided, not unavoidable fate. Staff shouldn't dodge failing machinery because someone couldn't say no to excess. Infection and procedure risks, self-made complications. Morbid obesity amplifies infection and procedural hazards, endangering staff further. Excess fat accumulated through years of deliberate overeating creates bacteria havens in skin folds. A 2015 infection control and hospital epidemiology study pegs one patient with a 35% higher rate of hospital-acquired infections. It pegs obese patients, not one patient, obese patients with a 35% higher rate of hospital-acquired infections. Required. What the fuck? This Monster Energy drink is not helping me. Forcing staff into prolonged, risky contact during care. Nurses spend hours cleaning preventable bulk, raising their exposure to MRSA and worse. MRSA is a horrible, 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 disgusting infection. Inserting a catheter or IV in a 500-pound patient with veins buried under tissue turns routine tasks into sterile field nightmares. Surgery is a disaster zone. A 2021 Lancet meta-analysis shows morbid obesity doubles operating times and triples complications, bleeding, wound failures, anesthesia mishaps, all traceable to lifestyle-driven weight gain. Sorry, that's my alarm. The American Journal of Surgery 2019 notes a 50% higher risk of needle stick injuries. In these cases, each of the potential deaths sentences via hepatitis or HIV. Staffs aren't imperiled by destiny. They're imperiled by patients who choose this path. Mental exhaustion, victims of others' choices. The physical wounds are obvious, but the psychological damage is a silent killer, and it's entirely unnecessary. Healthcare workers aren't machines; they're humans battered by the fallout of others' decisions. A 2022 Nursing Outlook survey of 1,200 nurses found 68% dread bariatric assignments because every shift means wrestling with preventable bulk, failing equipment, and endless procedures. A 400-pound patient demanding care and staff deliver, risking their own bodies because that patient wouldn't manage theirs. The Journal of Advanced Nursing in 2020 ties obesity-related care to 40% spike in emotional exhaustion, with turnover soaring in bariatric heavy units. These workers aren't fragile. They're fleeing a system that punishes them for others' refusal to act responsibly. Burnout is inevitable. It isn't inevitable. It's inflicted. Hospitals lose talent not to fate, but to patients who could have stayed within human limits, meaning their own body size. Staff resilience erodes under burden that shouldn't have to bear. Operational chaos, systems strained by avoidable excess. The damage spreads to hospital operations where morbidly obese patients, through their own making, cripple efficiency and endanger staff indirectly. Health Affairs 2018 estimates obesity costs healthcare $190 billion yearly. It's way more than that. I can do calculations showing that if you actually looked at it, obesity and if you looked at it, lifestyle-driven chronic illness, is about $4 trillion in shared healthcare burden in a year. It's just absolutely mind-blowing and wild. One patient monopolizes a reinforced bed for three nurses to transfer, stalling care for others and overworking staff. Emergency rooms choke as resources divert to manage self-created crisis, per the 2023 JAMA Health Forum study forecasting a 20% nursing shortage by 2030, even worsening by obesity demands. Injury workers claim disability. OSHA says 12% of healthcare injuries end careers, while burnout drives others. This isn't a natural disaster. It's man-made one. Every lost nurse, every strained shift traces back to choices patients did not have to make. The excuse are flimsy and baseless. Some cry foul, claiming obesity isn't a choice, that genetics or circumstances trap people in morbid obesity, and that is complete nonsense, as I've gone over ad nauseum many, many, many times. No one's forced to consume 5,000 calories daily. No one's chained to a couch. Studies like Flegel et al. 2021 show obesity trends track behavior, not biology. Every pound above 250 is a decision, and staff shouldn't suffer for it. Others push technology, lifts, robots, and fixes. A 2020 Journal of Healthcare Engineering reveals that only 30% of hospitals have bariatric equipment, and even then, it's slow and scarce in emergencies. Tech doesn't erase the immediate danger. It's a weak shield against preventable problems. The verdict: accountability, no absolution. No absolution. The data is ironclad. Morbid obese patients, through their own preventable choices, endanger staff with injuries, equipment failures, infections, burnouts, and operational collapse. Healthcare workers didn't volunteer to be crushed under the self-inflicted weights, but hospitals must enforce bariatric limits, prioritize safety standards, and demand accountability. Policy must fund protections and target the root personal responsibility, not downstream fixes. This crisis isn't fate, it's failure. Every broken back, every exhausted nurse, every stalled ER is a consequence that we can stop. Morbid obesity isn't a medical mystery. It's a choice of the victim. Staff who deserve better, protect them or lose them. And then you can check out all the sources. Now, I will do Q&A for about 10 minutes, and then we're going to move on to the next one. We're going to talk about glitter and lasers. Lovely Anna O'Brien. Let me see here where we're at. All right. So let's see here. Leprechaun, do healthcare workers have unions? This is just a safety liability written all over. Yes, they do. But at the same time, not all of them do, by the way. But yes, most of them do have unions. But the healthcare industry has been put. And here's my thing. Everybody knows I'm not a huge fan of the healthcare industry because I was in the healthcare industry. I was executive in the healthcare industry, and I'll tell you why. I'm not a huge fan of it because normally the healthcare industry does not give a fuck about its workers and does not give a fuck about health. I'll say it very, very loud. They don't give a fuck. But the thing that happens is that funding is tied to customer satisfaction. And that's ridiculous. If you tell a fat person they're fat and then they're like, oh, well, they insulted me, it actually lowers reimbursement. So then we just stop saying it to them, you know? I can't imagine many attempts to lift the patients. It's wild because like people tend to think that this is like a thing like, well, of course they should be able to move the patient. This is always said. What I find funny is this is always said by people who clearly do not lift heavy shit. Like I lift heavy shit still, but in my past I have lifted heavy shit, like 600 pounds heavy shit. I've moved it with my body. And that is when I was much, 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 much stronger than the average man. I'm still much stronger than the average man, but definitely much stronger than the average woman. And most nurses, it's still a very, very female-driven profession is nursing. We have it's so wild to me that we don't see this as some sort of very serious issue. Like people are eating themselves to multiple human-sized, and then people wonder why we have a hard time taking care of them in the healthcare industry. and why they're bad for the healthcare industry, because they're bad for everybody. Being morbidly obese to the point where it would be harder for people in healthcare to work on you also means you're massively over-consuming. You are massively hurting yourself on a daily basis. You're bad for the environment. You're bad for the planet. You're bad for the economy. You're disproportionately burdensome to everybody. This is just reality. So I've always felt very, very bad. I know many, many, many nurses that have quit for this reason, or who have gotten injured and can no longer perform their duties for moving larger patients. Many, many, many. It's wild. When I first got into the healthcare industry a long time ago, it was the number one injury for workman's comp for nurses, CNA, doctors, nutrition staff, anybody, was slips and falls. Like that's why OSHA was so big on slips and falls for a while. Like they would fine you like for a puddle that like the size of your fist. They could fine you, like literally, like make you pay money if you had that big, like a puddle like that big, like fist size in your kitchen. Like so. They were very serious about it. But with this, because it's patient care, it's very, very, very hard for them to be on it. Jane, no amount of money can pay me to be a medical professional, well, for lots of reasons. You do not know what the patient weighed, but I will tell you, well north of 400. Damn, I guess you were talking about something else up there. Okay. It's not just nurses, all healthcare workers that have direct patient care. Absolutely. Although most doctors don't do repositioning or bed changes, To answer, what did Leprechaun ask? Oh, there it is. Yeah, they have to provide service. And I agree with that. Like here's my thing. Nobody should be denied medical service. Nobody should be denied medical care. None. I just don't think that if you have lifestyled yourself in a chronic illness that, endangers you, medical staff that take care of you, everything like that, I don't see why that should be subsidized by all of society. Like if you're not going to participate in your health care, why should we subsidize your health care? One more time, like if you aren't going to try to keep yourself healthy, and I'm talking try to keep yourself healthy. Everybody should try to keep themselves healthy, especially when we have shared healthcare burden. And if you're not going to try to keep yourself healthy, if you're not going to participate in your healthcare, why should we subsidize it for you? Nobody's ever been able to answer that for me. Well, because we don't want anybody in pain. But they clearly want themselves in pain. They may not realize it, but if they're not doing anything about it, if they're literally not changing their lifestyle to prevent putting themselves in pain, putting themselves at risk, and then putting other people at risk by needing medical care and being 400 fucking pounds, they should have to pay for that 100% of their goddamn pocket. Like, if we did that, I know many people would be like, oh my God, that's horrible. What would we do? I tell you what we do. More people would lose weight because they couldn't afford to be fucking sick. Because right now, people can afford to be very, 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 very sick. People can afford the healthcare and the medications they need to sustain their barely fucking staying alive. They can get the blood pressure medications. They can get the beta blockers to make sure their heart doesn't fucking falter. They can do all these things. They can take the fucking drugs to make it so that the mental illness that is inflammatory driven, the depression that they have, the anxiety that they have, that oftentimes comes with lifestyle driven chronic illnesses, they can take the mood medications that will hopefully help. They really don't, but they hopefully help. Then they can also take all the other things for the pain and everything like that to barely function. If you're not changing at this point, if you go on all sorts of medications for shit you've done to yourself, you're not changing at this point, why should we keep subsidizing this? And that's what I point out to everybody. Healthcare workers, first responders, and of all kinds that need to move people, transport staff, everyone at every level is physically moving larger patients at risk. It's crazy. It really is. Yeah. Everybody congratulate Norma. I finally fit into a large shirt in juniors. Fucking great job. Agree. A nurse that works with me A morbidly obese patient broke her back in a fall. She never was able to work again, 30 years old and with major pain the rest of her life. That's fucking horrible. My deepest sympathies go out to that person. No shit. If there are 3 people injured in a car accident, I bet EMTs would help the normal sized people first. They should, because they know that they can help them first, you know? Katie Bear, my husband does home health care and is a sole caregiver for a paraplegic client. Years of moving her at 200 pounds has wrecked his body, and he used to work for the railroad. God damn, that's fucking brutal. Brutal. Ethan, I'm a reasonably athletic male nurse. So often the lift assist when needed. I don't like lifting over 200-pound patients because I have several decades left in my career. I don't want to squander it. I can totally understand that, Ethan. I completely. I get where you're coming from, right? All right, folks. Exercise has been demonstrated to have better results than SSRI. 100% it has. Thank you very much, Greg. I appreciate it. Oh my goodness, Greg. I have an inguinal hernia from moving a patient. Greg, send me a message. I would love to know more about this. Maybe we'll have you on the channel. I would love to know more about it, for real. And I'm very sorry that you're injured, by the way. But listen, folks, I am going to wrap this up, and I will be back live next for my next one here. In just a couple minutes, we're going to talk about Anna O'Brien, Glitter and Lasers. Hope to see you then. God damn.
The Holy Trinity Bundle isn't just about weight loss. It's about empowering you to find your healthiest, happiest self. Let's talk about what's in the bundle and how it caters specifically to our needs. First, we got Ember, which is not just any fat burner. It's also going to boost your mood, your energy levels, while also suppressing your appetite. And if you're worried about it being too strong, you can split the tablet in half to tailor its impact. Next, we have Alchemy NCT, which turns the carbs that you eat into energy and not fat. Yes, energy, not fat. This is our way of making sure that the meals that you eat contribute positively to your weight loss journey. And girls, we all know that we want that. And finally, no morbidity. This one's my favorite because it works while you sleep. It burns fat and controls those nighttime cravings without any stimulants, so you wake up feeling refreshed. Try it out and feel the genuine difference. Here's to new beginnings and real results.